Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. As the Ministry of Health continues to respond to the global pandemic of COVID-19, the national healthcare system has been adapted to allow for a more robust response to COVID-19. As such, new pathways to care have been created. The 311 hotline is available to provide general information on COVID-19 and access points for care and support. The 311 service is available 7 days a week and functions from 7 a.m. to midnight daily.
A review of the utilization of the services of this hotline indicates that 90% of the calls offer guidance and linkage to available services for the management of signs and symptoms of the virus. This has resulted in onward transfer of these clients to our telemedicine services and to our community respiratory clinics. The telemedicine services are delivered by physicians via mobile phones to allow for the delivery of telephone triaging of persons who are experiencing flu-like symptoms and require an initial level of assessment and direction to points of care.
Respiratory clinic services are available at the Victoria and St. Jude hospitals, and this service is to be utilized by people with respiratory issues but requiring care outside the normal hours of operations at the clinics within communities.
Persons with flu-like symptoms can access care at their closest respiratory clinics. The 5 existing respiratory clinics are the Grosley Polyclinic, the Leclerc Wellness Centers, the Dennery Hospital, the Viewfort Wellness Center, and the Soufriere Hospital. The services at the Dennery and Soufriere Hospital and the Leclerc and Viewfort Wellness Centers are available daily from Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Grosley Polyclinic is available daily from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, including the weekend.
All these services to support the management of COVID-19 are provided at no cost to the user. The Ministry of Health encourages everyone who deems themselves to be in need of any of these services to access them in a timely manner to minimize any possibility of risks related to COVID-19. The Ministry of Education has moved rapidly to scale up the online delivery of academic courses following the suspension of face-to-face classes, which came into effect on the 16th of March. According to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Michelle Charles, the new guidelines and protocols set out to allow continued instruction have received great feedback thus far, and she says stakeholders are in preparation for the virtual reopening of schools on Monday, the 20th of April. Shaka Wooding tells us more.
Following the suspension of traditional instruction, the Ministry of Education underwent meetings with various stakeholders to decide on a way forward for the academic year. The fruits of these discussions will be realized on April 20th, when students virtually return to instruction of teachers for assessment and reinforcement of first and second term components of the syllabus. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Michelle Charles, says parents and students are currently being engaged to determine their preparedness for this venture.
We have been getting some feedback and reactions as it relates to what the ministry has proposed for instruction moving forward. Everybody understands that it's not going to be business as usual, and there are going to be some challenges and a few hiccups that we're hoping to overcome, but generally persons are on board. Parents are excited that instruction continues for their students, and the teachers are trying their best to ensure that teaching is not disrupted in any great manner.
She said the ministry is also working to ensure that no students are left behind. Charles notes that efforts have been mobilized to ensure that students possess the technological resources needed to access virtual classes.
Indeed, this is quite a challenge for us in terms of identifying the persons with the need. We know that there is a gap in that area, and we have been conducting a number of surveys through our teachers who are providing us with the information as to who are the students who have no access, who have no devices. And also we are in touch with a number of agencies who are willing to partner with the ministry to bridge that gap as it relates to the vulnerable students who do not have access to devices or internet.
Charles confirmed that there is currently no plan to facilitate end-of-year examinations for grade levels which are not participating in CXC orchestrated examinations.
We do not have a plan for end-of-term exams. We have been telling our teachers, and this is part of our instruction to our schools, that this third term, which is the term where it will be school from home, that we are only supposed to consolidate, to focus on reviewing the concepts that we would have taught during the first term and the second term. So no new material will be introduced at that point. So there really is, teachers are going to, throughout the term, be conducting various assessments with their students in terms of giving them assignments, ensure that they're responding and they have the material covered. But there isn't a plan at all for a third term, end of term exam in the traditional sense as we know it.
She urged parents to engage students in exercise as physical education efforts have been halted. All practical courses remain suspended until further notice. Port 7 News, I am Jacques Wooding.
The implementation of social distancing is an essential step in reducing transmission of COVID-19. However, in an effort to flatten the curve, social distancing may be causing mental strain and loneliness. Although these issues can affect anyone regardless of age, family caseworker Andrea Alcid says the elderly are particularly vulnerable.
From the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Health Organization drew attention to the vulnerability of persons over 60 to be fatally impacted by the disease. Stringent measures have been put in place globally to ensure the isolation of this at-risk sector of the population. While physical isolation may protect our seniors from the highly contagious virus ravaging the world, it is exposing them to another, less understood challenge. According to family caseworker within the Ministry of Equity, Andrea Alcid, forced isolation in challenging times causes increased distress amongst the elderly. She says persons have already begun to show signs of loneliness, depression, anxiety, demoralization, and despair.
We will find that in this pandemic, in this situation, because as much as persons are older, they enjoy doing things for themselves, they enjoy company, they enjoy a frequent neighbor coming to say hi, coming to see how they're doing. But we know now we have to, curtail or minimize or be very careful how we visit them. So like we saw on the video there, what we can do for those older persons who are tech savvy, the constant video calling, the WhatsApp calling. For those who don't, call them at least twice, 3 times a day. Have the neighbor shout them, or go to see them but stay outside and have the conversation from a distance. That can help. The basic thing is try your best to keep them at home. At home is the safest place. Keep them at home, keep them informed, because as much as they're older persons, they need to be in the know of what's going on. So keep them informed, let them have factual information, not the hearsay, but let them have factual information. Avoid visitors. The same practices, the same hygiene practices that we've been taught and told to do on several occasions. We teach them the same, we remind them of the same, and most importantly, just try to keep them safe, keep them comfortable.
She underscored St. Lucia's projection for more than half of the population to consist of senior persons by 2050. The Ministry of Equity has identified the need to place greater attention on the needs of elderly persons. She applauded the timely commission of an elder care unit. As
we know, our older persons population is growing. God forbid, hope not. By 2050, St. Lucia is supposed to have at least half of its population as elderly persons. And those persons need attention, they need care, they need assistance and a lot of stuff, like persons in pension, persons preparing for end of life, persons who are being abused. And we find that in times gone, these persons were not given that special attention, that special care. Yes, that's just an older person, they live their life, so that's it for them. But now we try our best to ensure that older persons get that feeling that, yes, I matter too.
Alcid also applauded the National Meals Program, stating that balanced nutrition is imperative to mental stability. Port 7 News, I am Jacques Wooding.
The Deputy Director of Social Transformation in the Ministry of Equity, Jim Xavier, gave an update on the initiative to house the indigent of Castries during the COVID-19 pandemic. Xavier spoke to the level of sponsorship received thus far and whether the initiative is one that will continue after COVID-19 is over.
In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Castries Constituency Council took on the commendable task of providing housing for the homeless. The VG Sports Complex is providing temporary shelter to homeless individuals in a bid to enforce COVID-19 containment measures. Deputy Director for Social Transformation in the Ministry of Equity, John Xavier, says there has been lots of planning for the continuity of the program. He indicated that some of the homeless individuals will be placed in other institutions, some will be going home to family, and others will be transferred to the George V Park.
We are hoping that the Castries Constituency Council will be able to retrofit the building that they own in the gardens, George V Park, and so we are hoping to move this program from this facility to the George V Park, albeit with smaller numbers.
Xavier says some of the individuals in the program right now may need additional help, and others have family willing to step in to provide care.
As we realize, there are some persons here who have family support and can move to their families. Some need to be taken to other institutions, perhaps the wellness center and other institutions, but generally we're looking at a smaller number to move across to the gardens.
The Deputy Director says he is very thankful for the support that has been given by generous citizens and corporate St. Lucia over the past 2 weeks that the homeless have been housed at the VG complex. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We'll be right back.